Men playing make-believe. What a spectrum it is. You start the safe and cheap end. You've got your Dungeons and Dragons. You've got your fantasy football.
It's our fantasy baseball draft. We said no wives.
And you scale all the way up to the other end. And you've got guys dressing up like John Wick and doing their run and gun, pyong pyong pyong, pling pling pling, shooting courses, you know. This is about in the middle for me, starting to collect big old knives like this. Because this is just for LARPing. That's live action role playing, if you didn't know. There isn't really a use for me having this knife. I'm going to have to really find uses for it. But goodness me, it made me feel good. Getting out of its box all smelling like leather and steel and reproductive harm. It certainly makes me happy to hold it, and I think this is what the guys who do the Dungeons and Dragons and do the John Wick. Must be how they feel when they strap on for the day, whatever thing that they strap on that's going to make them happy. Just like the modern classic movie Moonfall, we need to keep a straight face. Some guy's probably already telling you that the serrated edge on the back of this blade is for cutting yourself out of an aircraft fuselage in 2023 on this knife that's sold to me. Yeah, got to keep a straight face. You know, if Moonfall leaned into the silliness, right, it'd become part of the joke, and that's way less fun. That's why Snakes on the Plane didn't do as well as everyone thought it was going to do, because the joke needs to be at its expense and not, you know, laughing with it. It's less cool doing that. Anyway, leather sheath for me. This guy, I wanted the cool Kydex sheath, but you have to buy the leather and you get the leather, and with the cool rubber handled one you get the cool Kydex sheath, which is definitely more for the John Wick cosplayer crowd, the rubber handle anyway. The leather sheath and the leather handle kind of matches, but them leather sheaths, they age pretty quickly, and they've got a massive loop that makes them kind of weird to pull the knife out, especially once it's new and tight. Those back serrations though, there's two kinds of dangerous. There's cool dangerous and there's stupid dangerous, and these, I must admit, are on the stupid dangerous side of the spectrum. Every time I cut rope with this just to see if I could, even though I was cutting away from myself, I could not help but think I was going to Final Destination myself. Have you seen that movie Bodies, Bodies, Bodies? If you've seen it, you know, you should see it. Anyway, they really don't saw very well or cut very well. They feel a bit dull. Don't know, more evidence that back serrations are stupid. Here it is next to the SRK, great knife. Here it is next to the Cans Bowl, also great knife. Here it is with the BK9 above it and the Space Force K-Bar below it. How about some specs? Here's a cool way to do the specs. I ruined a piece of wood so you can see that. That is the specs. And as far as I can guess, it's a pretty variable thickness, but the thickest part of the blade is like 4mm thick. The serrations make sparks, but they really don't throw them that well. I mean, if you had nothing else to rub your ferro rod against, maybe it would do it, but I wouldn't recommend it, and it's going to dull them teeth even more. I went and found some uses. I really had to find the uses for this knife, because it's not, frankly, as good at being a knife as most of my other knives. My smaller knives do small knife stuff better, and my big BK9 and stuff do big BK9 stuff better. By the way, this is like a talky episode because it's super windy outside. And when I was trying to just do it as I normally would, as in directly facing you, find people in my shed, it was just rattly and noisy and horrible. So hopefully the microphone is doing its job and you've got some nice, crisp, clear audio. Anyway, bit of a usage montage here. Let's have at it. Yeah, it's a bit of a clumsy cutter, you know, it's long and it's kind of a fat-edged blade and all that, but, you know, it'll do it. It's probably not within the mission of the knife. It's probably, this is like a side mission, you know, if you're thinking about the missions that this knife's supposed to go on. I think Stroganoff Prep is probably not one of them. It's not in the main campaign anyway. You know, whenever I am making a full meal in my kitchen with like a giant implausible knife to get like content going, and my family are just like moving through the house and they don't even say anything. They don't like decry it, they don't make fun of me, but it's just the norm. It really makes me realize that I have found love in this world, and I should always have gratitude for that love, because it's a bit fucking weird. Please don't take offense to the term live action roleplay. I know I don't mean it in a derogatory way. I just like to be as honest with myself as I can be about why I buy these things. I mean, what am I doing? Why am I doing this on the screen? It's ridiculous. You never need to do this with a knife, but people like to see it. I like to make a video of it. I like to compare how other knives do it. The BK9 is far better at it, by the way. But yeah, I like to acknowledge the inherent ridiculousness of me, some suburban dad, buying this K-bar, and it's exactly what K-bar wants everyone to do. They don't just want only soldiers to buy this knife, otherwise they only sell it at the soldier shops that you need a special ID to get it from, you know? This is the point of this whole thing, right? So, live action role-playing is the primary reason. Other primary reasons, I don't know. It'll chop green wood pretty well. It'll do some light batoning. You know, it's fine at that. The back's no real good for hitting with too many things, apart from on right at the end where there's no sawback stuff. So yeah, it's just middling at everything really, apart from looking and being super cool. And that's really what this knife has going for it. It's big and cool. I mean, it would make an okay dispatch knife. Like if sometimes my chickens get wounded or they just come down like and they're fucked, like they're just old and they get egg bound, and there's things you just can't do, can't solve like on the farm, and you're not going to take every chicken to the vet, you know, it's just not how it goes. We're a bit brutal out in these farming parts, so I could use it as a dispatch knife for, you know, swiftly ending an animal perhaps. That's pretty metal, pretty hardcore. I've done it a few times. I usually do it with an axe, but I mean, big knife like this could be an okay heart stopper for you hit some livestock or a wild animal or something in your car. What do you reckon? I don't know. I'm really shooting the shit here. I wish my chickens could carry it with themselves and be like empowered, because it is a knife that makes you feel kind of cool and empowered. And my chickens, man, they just live in fear of these fucking cats and foxes, and they're not scared of me anymore, which is nice. But I really wish it could be like a pepper spray for women in the 80s moment, where they were finally felt a bit braver going out and exploring the world a little bit, you know. Form a union, all that good stuff. The fighting utility knife. Fighting utility. It is fighting against its own utility, that's for sure. It's giant and it's got a silly back which you just can't help but lean on from time to time. The handle's super comfy, the stacked leather is just nice. It's like a barrel in your hand. I gotta say though, you do some chopping with it, and oh boy, it starts to chafe just a little bit, those gaps between the handles. I know you can put the O-rings in them, all that cool stuff, but it's a thing. Man, how would the K-bar toting forefathers be thinking of me, complaining about my hands being too sore if I'm chopping with the K-bar. It make my hands sore when I do a chop in the wood, because I need to cut wood in my shed, because I don't actually need this knife. And meanwhile, the old-timey soldier man in the corner's like, oh, your hands hurt, do they, boy? Well, you know what else would hurt? An enemy bayonet to the testicles and dick and butthole. 'Cause that's what you be getting in the war, Sonny Jim, Sonny boy, Sonny boy. Actually, I'd be pretty hesitant to say that this would be carried by soldiers ever. I feel like, I know bunches of guys that get together, right? And everyone else would have a normal size knife, and then some guy would pull out this, and everyone would be like, oh, that's a bit of a big knife there, isn't it? Oh, look at Pete with his big knife. Hey, that's bigger than your knife, isn't it, Reg? Why do you think that is? Oh, and everyone would be like holding that, the pinkies going diddle 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 at you. It's that same effect, I think. If you're in a room with guys who all have the K-bars and you pull out the big brother, I reckon the jokes are going to be made about you rather than anything else. Hey, tell you what, I'm not minding this style of YouTube, and I'm a bit more improvisational than Advanced Knife Bro. That guy's a professional at this. He writes a script and everything. I got some talking points, but I'm kind of just freewheeling it, you know, because it's probably the best case scenario with this knife as well, because I feel a little bit disingenuous talking to the camera about how good this actually was at bushcrafting right now. It's fun to just embrace the silliness and embrace the fantasy, you know, because I got fantasies, you know. I got the same red blood, you know. If you had to colour my insides in, you'd need to use cadmium red from the Derwent coloured pencil box. Yeah. I bleed the same. I got the same colour inside me. Yeah, I may look like a big old nerd, but yeah, I got the same fantasies as you all have, you know. The home defense fantasy, we've all got that one, surely. I reckon even girls get that one. Everyone loves an apt home defense story where it was just like perfectly done, and you don't get in any trouble from anyone, and everyone's just like, yep, that was fine. It needs to be, you know, the elements need to line up, you know. It needs to be in your house. You need to preferably have like your family at home and asleep, and you are the sole person woken to go and meet the threat. The threat needs to be to like life, not just to someone stealing your catalytic converter from like your shed, or stealing something from your laundry or something. Nah, it needs to be like the person's got to have like a kill list and some gear in them to, you know, duct tape and cable ties and stuff, and you need to have got the drop on him and like outdo him in like 1-to-1 physical combat with your K-bar, and you know, the next day on the news when they like put his picture on, he's got like a swastika tattoo on his face, so everyone's like, nah, fuck that guy. Even like the people who would normally be, but there needs to be due process, they're like, nah, we've seen this guy, he's shit, we've all got together, it's got a 98% universal acclaim on Metacritic, well done, home invasion. In fact, the governor probably like gives you a medal the next day for like service to society. That's the home defense fantasy, and that is what this knife is for. Anyway, got it all sharp once again after all my testing, and you know what? It's funny to say, I did do a fair bit of testing on the knife. I cut a lot of stuff with it, and I cut lots of bottles and I cut lots of wood and all that stuff to make what I hope was an entertaining video to watch. And maybe to listen to. I don't know, that'll be to be determined, I suppose. But yeah, the 1095, of course, sharpens up easily. I put a 20 degree per side edge on it-ish. I think it was like 23 from the factory. And now, of course, it absolutely nukes bottles. So, great. Happy with that. And yeah, it's where I want it to be for next time I decide to pick it up and play with. And it goes in my fun drawer with my half-breed blades, large bush folder. That's a big fun stupid knife, everyone enjoys that one. It also goes with my Emerson Tomahawk. I don't know why I have a Tomahawk, why should I ever have one? I'd never need it, like it's not as good as an axe at anything. I mean, I try throw it every now and then. But really, just for fun, makes me feel good when I hold it, you know? There's my Space Force K-bar. So K-bars to me are the fun knives. They're just fun, they make me feel good, they make me feel like I'm holding a piece of military history, and you know, I've got no need for it, but I love it. And then also, the Cold Steel Frontier Bowie, 1917, that's the number. I don't know why they chose that year, but lovely giant knife. Hey, it's even bigger than the Big Brother. So it's like the Big Granddaddy or something, I don't know what to call it. And the Big Brother, yeah, you know what? You would open this drawer and be like, oh, this must be the fun drawer. All these knives are big and silly and fun, but they're not like United Cutlery M-Tech fantasy dumb knives. They're like well-made, big, silly fantasy knives that, you know, make for a more leveled fantasy. And that's what I'm after. Oh yeah, and here's my CRKT little Wakizashi short swordy Japanese thing. I think it's James Williams' design. I don't know, but it's super fun as well. It's like a little ninja sword. Very cool. Alrighty, let's keep the knife roadshow continuing. This is the Big Brother once again, the focal point of the video. Nice, clearly shown there. This is the AD knives. This is a belt knife that I actually do carry. It's a S45VN homemade special. This is an SE4, similar thing, but mass-produced and very, very good too. Everyone likes the SE4, especially with them 3D handles. The K-Bar cutlass machete, that's my go-to chopper lately. Been chopping back all the trees and shrubs in the shrubbery. And leaning into some really cost-effective knives from Tarava, this is the Scrama, a great throw-style wood splitter, and this is the Yakari Puko 140, a great budget-style survival knife, really strong. If you want something that's not budget-style, this is full-price style through and through. That's a house payment on the TRC Apocalypse. Great knife though. So yeah, this guy here is a lot less usable than any of those knives I've just shown you. There's too many funny things about this to make it like a daily choice for a belt blade. Alrighty, conclusion time. You drop your 250 Aussie dollary dues on this blade, you're getting $250 of fun, and that's it. If you're okay with that, then spend away. I am absolutely okay with it. I get to make YouTube videos that people watch, and that is all part of the fun for me. I don't know whose belt knife this would be who actually needs this knife, because there's big survival choppers that are full tang and don't have the weird like graduated harsh angled tang that this guy has that are way more durable, known to be way more durable. And then of course there's smaller belt knives that will do your standard rugged fixed blade tasks way better than this. So you are literally paying for fun. You're paying for that good giddy feeling when you take it out of the box and it makes you feel happy in your man place. That's what it is. You buy it with that full knowledge and you will enjoy it. But yeah, it's just not particularly a useful knife to anyone anymore. Is there anywhere in the world where there's still knife fights happening? Where like two dudes will go at each other with a blade? Because I mean, if there is, then this is probably the knife to take to that place, but I think it's quite lucky that we don't have those places anymore. I think that's good. A lot of guys are like, I was born in the wrong time. I was like, I should have been a Viking. I should have been in the Colosseum. And I'm like, yeah, if I was sent back to those times, I'd be the guy that just shits himself to death in a field. And I think most of us would be that guy as well. We can bemoan the loss of those times all we want, but really, I think the best way to think about him is to get something like the K-Bar Big Brother in your hand, chop some wood at your house, swing it around a bit, make yourself feel good, and then go back to your heated or air-conditioned domicile, kick your feet up, and have yourself a nice whiskey, or if you're like me, maybe just a nice green or peppermint tea. Anyway, I enjoyed this knife. I hope you enjoyed watching me enjoy the knife. I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.